Have you ever wondered just how much money a great British pub makes? Just like this one. Well, good news, Captain, because this is my pub and I'm going to reveal my profit and loss to you. I'm going to show you, does my pub make money or does it lose money? Why is it that so many pubs go bust? It's a horrific failure rate. All hospitality businesses are devilishly difficult. So have I got any tricks up my sleeve that keep this one going, or am I just funding it? I'm going to reveal all of that in this video. Now, before we jump into those juicy numbers, I want to say a big thank you to Revolut Business for sponsoring this video. If you're running a business and you want to simplify your finances, they've got an all-in-one simple solution, which I use in my companies. It's flipping fantastic. And here's the good news, guys. You can help yourself to a £200 welcome bonus. More on that later. Let's get to the video. Right, gang, let me give you some context to this. I bought a hotel a couple of years ago, this one here, and it came with a pub. So I had to learn the numbers of a pub, how much money do I make, etc., etc. And that's what I'm going to break down in this video for you. We've got a couple of beer gardens like this one, which gives us really good sunshine trade. If you own a pub, you want the winter trade, which is arguably easier, December, for example. But if you've got one of these, this massive beer garden, you can do festivals, you can do entertainment nights and really cash in when the current bun is shining. So this is the Blue Boar Hotel and this is the Blue Boar Pub. As you can see, they are next to each other. But I want to make it very clear that we run these on two separate profit and losses so we can track how well the hotel is doing. And if you want to know how well the hotel is doing, I made a separate video about that called How Much Money Does My Hotel Make? But this is all about the pub. How much money does the pub make? Let's break down that profit and loss. If you watched any of my videos, you'll know that my playbook is multiple revenue streams that fold into your existing empire or existing ecosystem. I supply all the food and drink to here through my company, Cafe Deli. I run lots of events and it's quite handy for my staff to come and stay here when they're on a different geographical patch without having all that cost going elsewhere. I keep the cash flow internal, which to me is a winner-winner chicken dinner moment. But the multiple revenue streams within this building is quite something. Now, I like old things. I bought Rossi Ice Cream, 100-year-old business. Bought Marsh Farm, 35-year-old business. Cafe Deli, 30-plus-year-old business. But this is a real historic institution. I love this cobble path courtyard. I just love the thing. But there's loads of things that was not being used here. There was rooms that hadn't been decorated and they'd just been left for storage, and we've been going around increasing all the hotel rooms. Plus the pub, we've been able to do events. We've got this massive function room and a restaurant that hasn't been used in 20 years other than just for breakfast. So I can see this turning into a big multi-million, big profit business over the next 5 to 10 years. It's a labour of love, hospitality and leisure, but it's one that I love. Right, that's enough. Let's do the P&L. If you're an entrepreneur or you're running a business, you know how messy managing your finances can get, especially across multiple accounts, tools and currencies. And that's why I've teamed up with Revolut Business. I want to show you how easy it can be when you bring it all together. Revolut Business is the all-in-one solution for managing your company's finances. It's designed to help you work smarter, not harder. And you can open an account online in just a few clicks. You can choose from 4 plans, basic through to enterprise, based on where your business is at right now. Every month, over 20,000 businesses join Revolut Business, and it's easy to see why. So you get smart features like real-time spending insights, automated workflows, and global payment capabilities all in one place. And if your team's growing, you can instantly issue up to 200 virtual cards with custom spending controls. And that's exactly what I do in my business. I use this system. It's flipping fantastic. So everyone can move fast without the curse of overspending. If you're ready to control your business's finances, why not sign up to Revolut Business via the link in my video description? Or you can scan the QR code on screen here before the 30th of June 2025. Add some money to your account and then you'll receive a £200 welcome bonus. Subscription fees and T's and C's apply. New business customers in the UK only. Big thanks to Revolut Business for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. So why are hospitality businesses so devilishly difficult? Why do so many of them fail? Well, understanding seasonality, because that's a big part of these businesses, is really important. I'm going to draw a black line here. This black line represents break even in the business. It's a really good trick to do, by the way, when you've got teams, because now you give them a set of numbers like this and they're like, I've never read a set of accounts, I don't understand it. So you've got to be visual with teams, because getting the culture of the team to understand how difficult it is to run a business. It's half the battle because they're controlling the costs on labour, they're controlling wastage, they're controlling average customer value, getting order value up, getting the go for a large or would you like another one with that, all really important. So getting your frontline people on board is really important. So what I'm doing here is I'm writing the first letter of each month of the year: January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. I'm going to write loss down the bottom and I'm going to write profit up here. Now, we run a pub. So in January, guess what? We're losing money. Everyone does January. They run out of money from Christmas. So pubs get really affected in January. And in fact, I'm going to show you that in reality with numbers. February is similar. It's only in March things start to get good again. The sun comes out. So if you've got a beer garden, it's good. August, lots of people go on holiday. September, it starts to come back, but they've spent a lot of money in August on their school holidays. October, it starts coming back. November, December are great months. So what you can see here with the team is say, look, we have these peak months and then we have these trough months. And some of these peak months need to go in there. If you're running team members, they always remember the high days and the holidays and they never realise how tough it is that you have to save some of these peak months to fill in the troughs. How do we solve this? We're looking at our business and we're thinking we've got peaks and troughs. How can we solve this? Well, you create these multiple revenue streams. So you've got function room. Could functions help you in these periods here? Maybe you open a hotel. Maybe you do business meetings. Maybe you do outside catering. Maybe you do quiz nights. You've got to go for a process of innovating so you don't evaporate through those tough times.
Now, here's a little trick that I've worked out to make seasonal businesses and cash flow easier for your teams to understand. So if you're a business owner, you've probably got some accountancy experience, certainly if you're making profit. So you can read those profit and losses. But if you've never read a profit and loss before, you need to be really visual. Hence, something I prepared earlier. This is a plant pot and I dug a weed out of the ground. Now, I've done this explanation with my teams before. And we've got this little plant here or this weed and each one of these leaves represents your turnover in your business. So say you've got a business and it turns £100,000. Hey, guys, we're spending 30% of our turnover on labour. So we can just get rid of a big chunk of those leaves. And that's what we're left with. Do you think that's it? No, sir. No. Because 20% of our turnover goes to the VAT man. Let's get rid of some of those leaves as well. And then we've got some corporation tax. Let's get rid of that leaf there. Look, we've got 2 little leaves left now, gang. 2 little leaves. Hey, hang on a sec, we've got electric bills, half a leaf for that. And then we've got to pay for the actual alcohol to sell. That's the last of the leaves. And now we're left with a stem. That tiny little stem is our profit. But hey, this year we want to improve some of the building. We want to get some new furniture or repair the air conditioning. Let's take half of our profits left. And what you get left with, gang, is this tiny little stem which represents our profit. So it doesn't matter what you turn, it's about what you keep at the end. And in many cases, you don't even get to keep a stem. I find this a really good visual way of explaining to teams where all your turnover goes, much better than numbers. I mean, eventually they understand the numbers, but get this in, especially if you've got lots of part-time staff that are not full-time. Little simple visualization stuff like this really is winner, chicken dinner.
Right, let's look at the profit and loss here of the blue boar. What I like to do in my business is run monthly management accounts. You can see here, December, January, February, March and April, Christmas. And that's the biggest month out of these 5 periods. So I might just write that number here. You know, we've got 51k of revenue. This is after VAT, so we've taken the VAT off. We've got 51k of revenue in December. And then in January and February, it's 30 and 27k. Now, what if you've got salaried staff? You know, you've still got to find the salaried staff when you were 51k, the same as 30 and 27k. Huge stress on the business owner. So we've got total turnover here, 51,000. Bar purchases of 21,000. And then there's a bit of food purchases. So out of that 51,000, we've got £30,000 worth of gross profit. It's really important that you do stock takes because you want to make sure that there's a similar amount of total cost of sales to turnover. So these are the things that I worry about here because it's 21,000 to 50,000 there and then 10,000 to 35,000 there. So I want to make sure there's a regular amount of percentage GP. So I look at, it's not on here, but on our full management accounts, I'm looking for consistency in my gross profit, especially in alcohol, because if your gross profit fluctuates, that could mean that there's lots of wastage or people stealing from you. Lots of pubs, for example, that people take the cash and don't put it in the till, give out free shots. So when you're running a business that has stock, you want to make sure that your gross profit percentage, your GP percentage, stays consistent each and every single month. I can't tell you how much a fluctuating gross profit shows if people are stealing in your business. You know, a good bookkeeper, a good accountant can work this stuff out for you. So get your percentages in there. Then what comes off of gross profit? Well, you've got any cash discrepancy, you've got software, you've got well pay on EPOS fees. I mean, look at this. You know, it's like 1,300 to 1,400 to 1,200 pounds just to process credit card fees and bank cash. Banking cash is so expensive now. And that's if you can find a bank to put it in. Then you've got your premises expenses, repairs and maintenance, and then salaries. So quite good salaries to turnover here. Now you might notice, well, it's £5,500 on a high turnover month, £50,000, but then it's nearly 10,000 on January. Remember, you're usually paying your salaries a month in arrears, and then you've got 5 weeks and 4-week months. So really you need to be looking at a year-to-date position, so you consolidate it, and then you have a year-to-date position here that shows all of this stuff adding up when you look at your accounts. So if you see your salaries fluctuate month to month, that's whether it's a 4-week, 5-week month, depending on payroll cut-offs, and then remembering you're paying January salaries for December's turnover. So in February, we're paying January salaries, par exemple. And then you've got self-employed fees if you've got, repairs and renewals, you've got an air conditioning guy to come in. So then you see here, we have this operating profit. What I haven't allowed for in here is business rates. Business rates would be, £1,500 a month on a pub. So, you could take off. So let's look at, this month here of £23,000. Take off £1,500 for business rates, take off £1,000 for electric, take off £3,000 for rent. So this looks at, then you're ended up with that you've got a £15,000 operating profit after taking all those things off. But then again, you've got my time, my central time, HR costs, all of that comes off as well. But then what happens is if you have that really great month in December, but in January, you can see here, we went from a 23,000 operating profit to a £9,446 operating profit. Once you take off business rates, rent, and our operating costs, we actually lose money in January. So you start eating into December's profit. Yes, if you can get a pub to do over £35,000 a month in wet sales, I think you've got a chance of making money. There's a lot of pubs that don't do that. How do you solve it? Well, you have to add in food to the mix. We do a light lunch menu here. We've got this massive restaurant area, so we can do full hot food. And most pubs make more money in terms of turnover on hot food, but all the profits in the drinks. Let me explain this to you. You sell a cocktail in a top London restaurant for £20. What goes into that? A guy can make that, or a girl can make that in 5 minutes. You then turn a £20 food thing, you need a big kitchen, you need lots of ingredients, it's wet doesn't go off, gin doesn't go off, vodka doesn't go off, food, you have huge amounts of wastage. How much time goes in to prep up a £20 meal? And with more and more people not drinking nowadays, that's a consideration of mine.
Well, what have we learned thus far? Yes, this pub makes money. But why does it make money? Well, we've got some rare and protected forms of leverage up our sleeves. We're in a town that's got lots of people. We've been here a long time. We're free of tie. What does that mean? Well, lots of pubs are tied to breweries. They're owned by the brewery, and therefore they put in a tenant to run and sort of own the business, but they have to buy all of the drink from the brewery. On top of that, they have to pay the prices that the brewery sets. We're free to buy from wherever we want to buy. We try and keep our cash flow as internal as possible. All the food and drink that we buy comes from our own business, cafe, deli, wholesale. I think also that bit about population. This is a town with lots of chimney pots continually putting more chimney pots in the town as well. So if you're building a hospitality and leisure business, you better make sure you've got lots of chimney pots on your doorstep, because if you've got people that you can serve, then that makes a big difference. Lots of pubs are in quiet little villages and have to work really hard to get people outside of other villages and towns to come to them, in effect become a destination venue. Now, while you should be doing that, and we try and do that, you also really can help yourself to lots of people locally. It's got more chance of being a real commercially profitable enterprise. Now, I just want to say a massive thanks again to Revolut Business for sponsoring that video. I love their service. I use them in my businesses. They're a brilliant business. Please go and check them out and help yourself to that £200 welcome bonus. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to come and see me live at one of my events to really push your business further, go and check out my website, jamessinclair.net. I'm running a big event in London later on in the year and other events throughout the year. All of that in the link in the video description. And again, obviously on jamessinclair.net. See you in the next one, gang. Bye-bye.